So, update, just update of stuff happening in my life. I almost finished getting the apartment organized. I just have the closet downstairs to organize, and I got the shelves. So hopefully, I can get my husband to put up the shelves, and I can start bringing the boxes downstairs. Only thing I need is some DVD shelves. That's about it to finish emptying out boxes. But I'm pretty much done. It's just a matter of it's organized, but it's still a mess. I gotta clean up. I want to get it all nice and perfect, and then take a video of the new apartment. So yeah, I as far as so far so good with the bills. There's just I got a little surprise in the mail from Comcast. They sent my name to creditors because they said that I owed them money. Now, they said that if you cancel within 30 days and then bring the box in within 10 days of canceling, you don't owe them a thing. That's their guarantee. So, I think that service started for me on the 21st, I think. And I know that I closed it on the 7th and then moved. So that was 3 weeks. Not even. And it's like 2.5 weeks. And then, brought back the box within 9 days. Got a receipt from, the Comcast store that I brought it back. And called them up to make sure everything was on the up and up. And they said, we're sorry, but they never, removed the money that you owe. We'll take care of that right away. Okay. So that was like a month ago, and everything was cool, everything was great and wonderful, and life went on, and then I get that little surprise. And I was like, what the heck's going on? So I called the creditors. I'm like, what are you talking about? I paid this, I don't owe them a thing. I gave them, I closed within 30 days. I gave them back the box. What is this? I said, I have all my receipts. And they said, oh, well, we're sorry. They're going to have to, and we can't go by what you say. We have to go by what they say. We'll give you 2 more weeks to take care of this, and then we're going to send off your name to the crediting lawyers or whatever. I'm like, whatever. I called up Comcast. I was like, what is going on? Oh, we're sorry. They still didn't take care of that. I'm like, 2 months later? And you want to know the funny thing? I'm getting calls every day by a number I don't recognize. So I looked up the number, and it said that it's spammers or solicitors or whatever. So there's no way to block it when you have AT&T. You have to ask AT&T to block it or something. You can't do it from your phone. So I'm like, whatever. I'm just not gonna answer the phone. But then I started getting another. It was the same area code but a different number, and I'm like, so what? They couldn't get through to me on one number. They're gonna try the other. So I looked up this new number. It's Comcast. Soliciting. I was like, what? So I picked up the phone when they called again, and I was like, yeah. What do you want? And they were like, oh, we just wanted to confirm your that you asked to cut off your Comcast. I'm like, that was a month ago. And so they were like, well, we just want to know if we can convince you to come back. I was like, are you kidding me? I said, what I would like you to do is to get the creditors off my back. And they said, oh, we're not here for that. We just want you to come back. I'm like, yeah. Okay, just tell the creditors to get off my back. Bye. Hung up, and then, call customer service. And they said they're sorry that they're bothering me, and that it'll take them 10 days to straighten this out with the crediting company or whatever you call those companies. So let's see what happens with that. But I tell you, Comcast is just a nightmare company. It's just a nightmare company. So so yeah. Um, I think one last thing I'd like to talk about is I used to think that because so many bad things happen to me, if I'm looking down and not at the camera, so the light's hurting my eyes. So many bad things happen. I used to think that I had bad luck. And then sometimes when you become a Christian, whether Catholic or Protestant, they're like, oh, God is just testing you, or God must be punishing you for something you did, or God never promised us happiness, and blah, 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 blah. Which none of that is true. None of that is biblical. Because the Bible said, blessed are those, and the interpretation for blessed are happy. So if someone tells you God never promised you happiness, it's a lie. So I used to think it was bad luck. But as my faith started growing, there's a saying that says, God won't put you through what he can't see you through. And instead of looking at life as bad luck, problems with the budget truck company, problems with the Comcast company, just this weight on me because I have, kids with, mental illness, or what, if that's what they call it, depression, bipolar, they call it mental illness. I don't see it as bad luck. I pray for peace in my life. I wish I could, I just want to die in peace. I would like to have peace in my life where I don't have to deal with problems like this. It's just like, it is a burden when you have problems like that. But, the Bible does say that Jesus said to take his yoke upon you, for his burden is easy and his yoke is light. And basically it's, asking Jesus to help you. I don't know. I just feel like, yes, I go through these things, but I see it as, but God gives me the victory through all of that. Because, yeah, that horrible thing happened with budget, but I got half my money back, more than half, because they paid me back the late fees too. So, I see it as, yeah, my daughter has the depression and anxiety and disabilities, but I thank God that at least she has SSI so that she can have some sort of income. Yeah, my son may have his bipolar, and he was turned down for disability, which is insane. At least he got accepted into the sliding scale clinic, and even though they were they didn't have room for him right now, they gave him his medicine for free. So, because he's 18 and he's not working, so you see, you can look at it as all bad, but I see God, or, Jesus, or whichever way you want to put it, the Lord. What I see is the miracles of God getting me through that. Because if Stephanie didn't get disability, if my son did not go to the sliding scale clinic, and they didn't have their medications, now that would be a living hell on earth, dealing with that. But I see it as God helped me through all of that, there's another thing that I've heard said that, well, we worry about today, that won't be there a year from now. And I am an excessive worrier, and yet somehow things work out. And sometimes you might win. Sometimes you have battles, and you might not exactly win them the way you think you should. Or sometimes some battles, I don't always win a battle, but usually it's something small, and it's like you can pick and choose your battles. I can let that one go because it's not as important as this huge problem over here. So, I look at it like that. Because if I just dwelled on the negative, like with this car accident, I just don't see what positive came out of that. I'm 47, and the accident happened like 10 years ago. And I feel like my body's an old woman, and it's just gotten progressively worse, where sometimes I find it really, really hard to walk because I'm in so much pain. I lose sleep because of pain. I'm taking over the counter products like they're candy, because I don't really, even if I did have insurance and I could get the painkillers, I don't like the way they make me feel. So I would only use that if I'm absolutely desperately, needing it. I try to avoid it as much as possible. So, I mean, yeah, I could dwell on that. I could sit here and say, oh, allergies killed my throat, and singing to me was like a part of my soul, and yes, I gained over 100 pounds, and I can't do the things I used to do or enjoy the things I used to enjoy, and exercise and stuff like that. I could dwell on that, be negative, and just go crazy. I choose not to, and I choose to dwell on the positive things. I say life is never perfect, but I'm content with what I have. Last year I really, really stressed myself out over getting this Wet and Wild. I mean, yes, I hope I do. I am able to find my stuff, but I don't want to do like I did last year. I don't want to hit the stores every other day and call the stores every day. Now I go to the stores once a week, if not once every 2 weeks, and I'm just trying not to stress myself out. I just have to look on the positive of everything. Life can be stressful. We got this new job. My husband's the company is very overbearing, very intrusive. But I came into this because my goal was to get out of North Carolina, and it may have taken 13 years for that to happen. But I'm here now. I'm with my family. I'm part of my niece's life. My brother's a part of my children's life. I'm just being with family has been just a wonderful experience in this past month and a half. And sometimes I'm willing to make certain sacrifices because I think that the end result might be worth it. And nothing keeps us here. So far so good on the job, but we're not married to the job. I don't want to, after all the stress I'm going through with this moving, that's not something I want to do again. But if worst comes to worst, you got to do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? Yes, it's hard, and yes, sometimes it seems impossible, but the Bible says that nothing's impossible for God, and I don't just think of negative, and we can, as best as within our power, is change the circumstance as best as we can. Like that serenity prayer, God give me the wisdom to change the things I can. What is it again? Grace to accept the things I can't change, and wisdom to know the difference. And as much as it is within your power, you can try and change your situation. 13 years I was in North Carolina, and we tried to move, but we didn't. And I remember crying, God, what are you trying to teach me? And then even when I finally realized what God was trying to teach me, I'm like, okay, God, now that I know what you're trying to teach me, when are we getting out of here? And it still didn't happen for like another 5 years. So, and I know why that happened too, because I wanted to go back to New York to be with family. And we tried 1 year, spent most of my settlement, well, not most of it, but a good chunk of my settlement money trying to move. And the next year, my family, I don't really talk a lot about my personal problems, but my family fell apart. Little by little, my sister stopped talking to me, my father stopped talking to me, my other sister, we barely talk, and the only one I had a relationship with was my brother. And I wanted to be a part of my brother's girls' lives, a part of my sister's daughter's life. And that's what was drawing me back to New York, was my nieces were born, and I wanted to be there with them. I wanted to have them to be a part of their life, and my family be a part of my children's lives, as I figured it would help them with their depression. And it when we used to go visit, I could see the difference in, in them. So, but it didn't happen. And the year later, everything fell apart. And then what happened was last year, my brother moved here. And my son's ready for college. And so that is when the light bulb finally went off in my head. Well, hey, I would have never moved to Texas, but 2 film schools that my son can go to. My brother will be there with his girls, and we can be a part of each other's lives, and my son can go to school. Win-win. So if I had moved back then, 5 years ago, it would have been horrible for me moving back up north, and then all my relationships with my family be messed up. So God knew. See, God knows. Even though we don't know, God knows. And for 5 more years, I was like, God, I don't want to get out of here. Where, And I finally just accepted, well, in God's timing, it'll happen. And sure enough, when my brother moved out here, we came out here. And at least we came out here with open eyes. I knew I wasn't crazy about being near the city. The driving is worse than New York. But I knew that this was going to be good for my family, and it would be good for my brother because, he was homesick. So now there's family here again. We can all hang out again and be a part of each other's lives, be a part of our children's lives. And, it happened just at the right time. So, yeah, bad things happen to me. Bad things happen to everybody. But I also see the positive. I also see God bring me through those things. God more than have my money back from, the budget truck company. And really, Comcast can't do nothing to me because I have proof of when it started and proof of when it ended because I moved. So they can't say that it continued. Proof that I returned the box. So really, they can't do anything to me. They can't hurt me. And so yeah, I tried to look at the positive, within the bad, like the silver lining in the clouds, and that's just the way I try to look at things. I don't try to look at things as bad, oh wow, this is bad luck. And then when you become a Christian, there's no such thing as bad luck, But God never promised you happiness, and you're being punished for something, or whatever other excuses they use for problems in our lives. But I try to look at the positive aspect of it. And like I said, there's some things I don't understand. I still don't understand my back problem, why all of that happened to me. I mean, I got a small settlement that paid off my car and got me new furniture, but to me that wasn't enough for me to have a hurt back and gain weight because I'm so sedentary from pain and lack of sleep. But I could dwell on that and go out of my mind. I just try to dwell on the positive, dwell on the good in life. So that's what I try to do. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. And the next color in the rainbow series is green. So I will see you next week with green.